Hello BookTube, Sarah here and welcome to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with my Harlequin anticipated reads for June of 2019. Yay! Anticipated reads time! So in this video, as I do with all of these videos, is I'm asking you to please pick me a book. From all these books I'm about to mention, except for one, I'll explain that in a minute. Pick one of these books that you want from me, or that you think that I should read towards the tail end of this year. This is for my 40 Years of Harlequin project. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, essentially what I'm doing is I'm reading one book every week from a different year for 40 years, from 1979 to 2019. But for, it would end, of course, in 2018 would be 40 years. And then that leaves 12 more weeks of the year. So I'm reading one book per month published in 2019. So I had one of my viewers ask me last month if I could please show what books have already been picked. Now, I will do that. I haven't put them in bags yet. Excuse me for reaching. Bring them over here without dropping them in the cat food. I do have them here. Plus, the box just arrived today of April's book. So that's May's book. May's book is very exciting. So essentially, going forward, I am not going to show these every month. These ones, plus the one in the box, are all going to be put into brown paper bags after I'm done this video, or tomorrow, or whenever I get around to doing it. And then I'll be labeling the front of them, of course, with what month they're for. Because part of the fun of this is opening them and having them be a surprise. If I show you guys every month, I mean, I remember what books I bought, but I don't necessarily remember what month they're for. Does that make sense? So part of the fun is the surprise of, oh, what book was it again that came out at that month? So yeah, so that's why I'm not going to show you guys every month, nor am I going to keep a list for it. But I will show you guys all of them now up till, excuse me, I got the hiccups, up until May. Excuse me. And then, how very rude of me, I do apologize, BookTube. And then, going forward, I will show you the book from the previous month when I do this video each month. Does that seem fair? So, just to let you guys know exactly what book was picked. So, we'll start off with January. Where's January? January was a Harlequin historical, and that is Virginia Heath's The Uncompromising Lord Flint was the first book that was picked. The one for February is right here, a Harlequin romance, Hired by the Mysterious Billionaire by Allie Blake. Very much looking forward to this one. This is the one where she kind of spies the guy on the train, and it turns out that he's her new boss, of course. And then for March, we had Not Just the Girl Next Door by Stacey Connolly. Love this one. Cannot wait. It's part of the Forever Yours series, which involves animals, cats or dogs. This one, obviously, doggies. And then for April, we had Justice Mission by Lynette Eason. One of the books in the True Blue Canine Unit series. These take place, if you couldn't tell, in New York City, because I believe that's the Brooklyn Bridge there. I don't know my New York landmarks that well, but yeah. And then now, the book for May, which I know what it is because one of the authors that I mentioned found my video somewhere and posted on her Facebook page, and all of a sudden, like 30 people voted on this book. So, I mean, hey, that's fine by me. I'm all for, sharing my videos. I think that's fantastic. But it did skew the numbers just ever so slightly. Killer Exposure by Jessica R. Patch. Very much looking forward to this one. So we will have two Love Inspireds back to back in April then May. But that's perfectly acceptable to me. I have no problem with that. So those are the books to this point. Going forward, I will show you guys when I talk about the next month's books. So, let's get into the anticipated reads for June, you guys. Exciting, exciting. So, as I said, there is a slight caveat to this list. I am working on a special project for Read Bliss, and the first book that I'm going to talk about, the Harlequin Desire novel, I have a copy of to read for this special project, so please don't vote on the Desire book. I went today and I looked at all the rest of the Desire books, and I'm like, I should pick a different one for this list. And, while some of the other ones looked really good, this one still stood out to me heads and tails. And as much as I am... Heads and tails? That didn't make any sense, did it, guys? It's late and I'm tired. Heads above the rest, I should say. And, as much as I'm asking you guys to pick a book for me to read for the 40 Years of Harlequin project, this is also to highlight the books that I feel are the most interesting and the most exciting for each of these imprints coming out during the month. So, you know, that's why I didn't want to make the change, because I still think that this is still one of the better books coming out. And that book, now that I've done all this building up of it, is His Declaimed by Brenda Jackson. This is book number 4 in the Westmore Legacy series. And essentially this is the story about a couple who is already married. And she leaves him. He is a Navy SEAL. And he returns home to find that his wife has left him. And he is trying to win her back. I kind of love that, because when we read romance novels, it's always the couple getting together and the end result is the marriage. But I'm kind of really enjoying, and I've seen this happen a couple times now, where they, it's a couple that's already married and they're having problems, and, you know, they're trying to get back to their marriage. I think that's absolutely wonderful, and I think this one is absolutely spectacular. So again, don't vote on this one for me. I do have it to read, and of course I will report back in June once I've read it and give you guys my thoughts on it. But yeah, I think this one just sounds fantastic, and you should definitely go ahead and pick it up for yourself. Next up, we have a Harlequin heartwarming novel, and this is Almost a Bride by Rula Sinara, book number 1 in the Turtleback Beach series. And this is a story about a guy who's in the witness protection program. And no one knows who he is, and he's living in the small town called Turtleback Beach. And then a joint inheritance brings his old high school girlfriend back to town. And, you know, they kind of maybe rekindle their romance. The reason I picked this one is because I have some questions. If he's in the witness protection program, why is he still living in the same small town that he grew up in? Doesn't that just sort of kind of defeat the purpose? Or maybe I'm misunderstanding from reading the back of the book. Go ahead, you guys, and read the back of this book and let me know, am I wrong? But it just sounds odd. But I do really enjoy the fact that he's kind of in witness protection. I think that's a really neat angle on this. And, you know, I think it'll be a lot of fun. Next up, we have a Harlequin historical novel, and that is A Wife Worth Investing In by Marguerite Kaye. This is book number 2 in the Penniless Brides of Convenience series. So this is, of course, a marriage of convenience story. And it's about a woman, a lady actually, so somebody as of part of the nobility within London, and she is penniless and impoverished, and she knocks one day on this very wealthy gentleman's door, I guess maybe looking for a handout of sorts. He is no longer the carefree bachelor that he used to be in his youth, and now he is injured and he's a bit of a recluse, but he decides to take a chance on her, and, you know, they decide to kind of do the whole marriage of convenience thing. And what really stuck out for me on this one, you know, especially because it is in a way a bit of a typical, you know, plot line within historical romance, is that she wants the money so she can open a restaurant. And I kind of really, really love that, because that's one thing, and I'm now thinking back on it, you know, I'm thinking about every historical romance novel that I've read that have taken place, you know, in Mayfair, in London. You don't hear of the Ton going, you know, out to dinner, you know what I mean? They go to the opera, they go to a play, but you never hear of them like dining at a restaurant. And I just find that very, very interesting. And Marguerite Kaye is a really great author, so I'm really excited about reading this book. Next, we have a Harlequin intrigue novel, and that is Incriminating Evidence by Amanda Stevens. This is book number 2 in the Twilight children's series. Now, Amanda Stevens has been writing intrigue novels for a long time, and she is a go-to author. She always writes great books, and this one sounds really interesting. It's about a woman who is convinced that she is the biological daughter of a serial killer. And she was adopted, so she hires a private investigator to investigate her past to find out if the serial killer is actually her father. Well, then the private investigator starts to uncover some things that are a little bit too close to home for his own past. And it just sounds really, really interesting. I love the whole serial killer aspect of it, and kind of that, what would you do if you were the child of? Do you know what I mean? It just sounds totally interesting, and I think this one would be a really great read. Next, we have a Harlequin romance novel, and that is Summer Escape with the Tycoon by Donna Alward. This is book number 1 in the Destination Bride series. This one made me so excited when I read the back of it. So it's about a couple who are vying to win a trip to Canada. Yay, Canada, my home country. And I guess they end up like, I don't know whether it's like some sort of like a, what do you call it? What are those TV shows? Like The Biggest Loser or The Amazing Race or Survivor. Reality TV kind of show. Thank you, Garrett. I have my peanut gallery helping me out with words that I can't remember. He's waving. And I don't know whether they're competing on some sort of reality game show, but to win a chance to get this trip to Canada. And I don't know whether it happens in Canada or not. I do know the author is actually Canadian. So, and I know a lot of her books are often set in Canada. So if for the summer romance book bingo, you are looking for a book that is set outside your home country, because that is one of the prompts, Donna Alward does write books set in Canada, and they tend to be shorter novels if you're interested. And from my remembering, her books do not get, they do have some adult content, but most of it, I'd say at least 90 to 95% of it is behind closed doors. So for those of you who that, you know, might make you a little bit uncomfortable, do be aware that that's the case. But yeah, this one sounded like a lot of fun. Next up is a Harlequin romantic suspense, and this is Special Forces the Spy by Cindy Dees. Book number 2 in the Mission Medusa series. So this is a story about two people who are, she has been captured by this ring of criminals. And he is actually a spy who has infiltrated this ring of criminals. But neither one knows the other one what their game plan is. She thinks he is one of the bad guys. And he's trying to kind of help her out. But of course she doesn't want his help because she thinks he's a bad guy. So of course she starts to have feelings for him, which, you know, like nobody wants to have that kind of an idea. But this one just sounds really interesting, that, you know, the whole, not a mistaken identity, but, you know, keeping your identity secret, because it could, you know, it could jeopardize his life if he reveals who he is to her. So yeah, this one sounds really interesting. Cindy Dees, again, she writes a lot. She's been writing for quite some time for Harlequin and Silhouette, and I really, really do enjoy her books. Next, we have a Harlequin special edition, and this is A Fortune's Texas Reunion by Allison Leigh. I really like Allison Lee's writing too. She is fantastic. This is book number 6 in the Fortunes of Texas, the Lost Fortune series. I believe it's the last in this mini-series. These can be read out of order if you so desire. It's not that big a deal. But this one is about a woman who is kind of going home for a family reunion and ends up having a calamity, as it says on the back of the book. And she gets rescued by this small town sheriff. And what really drew me in was the last line of, you know, the back of the book, and it says, "Can a blue-collar cop and a blue-blooded daddy's girl really have a shot?" I just think that sounds adorable. I love the whole opposites attract scenario within romance. It's one of my favorites. And yeah, I think this one would definitely be a lot of fun. Next up is a Love Inspired, and this is Winning the Rancher's Heart by Arlene James. Book number 3 in the Three Brothers Ranch series. I cannot confirm nor deny if this is the last book in the series. Three Brothers Ranch, book number 3, I'm thinking possibly. But again, most of these can be absolutely read out of order. So this is the story about a woman who, you know, her brother has passed away and she has trouble with the circumstances surrounding his death. So she's off to investigate that and meets up with a local rancher, but she can't tell him who she is and reveal kind of all of her secrets. But she finds herself getting close to him, you know, in a romantic aspect. And, you know, truth, secrets, all those things, you know, it just sounded really cute, and I thought it was really interesting. And yeah, I mean, Arlene James, I've read her before. Again, another fantastic author. She, you know, is high on my list. If I see a book by her, I know it's going to be a good one. So yeah, I definitely had to pick this one. And last but not least, we have a love-inspired suspense novel, and this is Hidden Twin by Jodie Bailey. I cannot say if I've read Jodie Bailey before. The author's name does not strike a bell with me, but this one sounded really interesting. This is another one about somebody in witness protection. So this woman's in witness protection, but she has been found by the people who are looking for her. And now a U.S. Marshal is you know, vying to kind of keep her safe. So that's pretty much the premise of the story, but it just sounds really interesting. I don't know what it is about witness protection, but it just sounds so fascinating to me. To be in that much danger, to give up your entire life and your entire existence, to go into hiding, but then still maintain a normal day-to-day. Do you know what I mean? It just, you know, with knowing all these things about your past, but you obviously cannot talk about them. It just sounds fascinating to me, and yeah, this one sounds really interesting. So anyway, guys, that is all that I have for you in this video. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Again, please pick one of these books for me to read towards the end of the year, except for the Desire book. That one will be read in June regardless. And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.